I mean, tell me, now the contemporary art market is crazy with huge prices for quite young artists from 200,000 to more than 1 million. And you are an agent. So what are you doing?
I think that what you want to allude to is that some of these prices are too high. And I would agree with you. I think that an artist needs to have a history and a story to tell and needs to be supported by institutions. And that's what I'm pushing always. I much prefer my artists to have a long-term career and be supported by curators and institutions globally, as opposed to just having a great art market career.
Yeah, but it's a new job to be an agent for an artist, right?
I don't think so, because if you look back at history, I think Leonardo da Vinci had the Medici, and even
No,
the
it
King
was
of
not
France.
an agent, it was a mécène.
I think it's very similar, to be honest. If we look at Picasso, from Canvilla to some other dealers,
Was a dealer.
they supported him, they placed him, they behaved almost like managers. But I think really what happened is that a bit later on, you had Fred Hughes for Andy Warhol.
But he was only working for him.
Correct, but he was his manager.
True.
And he called him his manager. And then you had Frank Dunphy for Damien Hirst, who managed him.
Formerly a clown manager.
Correct. And he managed him for 30 years almost, until he passed away, I think, 3 years ago. And from what I know, many other artists have managers. And I've come to realize that actually a lot of artists have managers, but they have single managers. You're absolutely right. So you have a manager who is 100% dedicated only to that one artist.
But today, who has a manager who is famous?
From what I hear, Cecily Brown has a manager.
What's his name?
Damien Hirst had a manager. I think it's Andre Crane at Cecily Brown. I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
I think what I tried to create a few years ago was set up managers artists in general, and not just a single artist. I think that's the big difference. There's not been really let's say, an infrastructure, a company that would support a host of artists. But if you look at sports or act, you have them. You have UTA or CCA with hundreds of Hollywood actors as clients.
And but what is special about you is that you are paid in works, which really means you believe in the artist.
Yes, I 100% believe in the artist, because my business model is that I get paid fundamentally in artworks, and I am a collector, so I would not work with an artist whose works I do not want to collect, because it would make no sense to me. But you hit the nail on the head. I think when I signed up Rudolf Polanski with Gagosian about 3 years ago, Larry said, "How should I pay you?" And then when I explained to him my business model, he looked at me and said, "I like your business model, because that means that A, you believe in your artist, and B, if the ship sinks, you're the first guy to lose." And that's true. I think you have to have skin in the game. And maybe that comes from my background in banking.
And yes, but also it allows you, because of your banking background, you have some cash, right? So it allows you to not to make cash directly with the work.
I think that's a huge advantage that I have. Yes, that's very true.
And
but I mean, most people, when they work, they want to get paid in cash. I mean, that's the way that the planet works. There is no barter trade, really. When you work, when you introduce somebody, you get paid in cash. And I'm creating a barter trade situation where I basically barter my services, my contacts, my strategy, my vision for artworks.
And you decided to give a work to Noah Horowitz for his new adventure, Artist Choice at Sotheby's. Why?
I think Noah is developing something which is very interesting. And Kennedy has a massive charitable streak in her.
Kennedy Yanko.
Yes, Kennedy Yanko, and she gave a wonderful work to Amphar, for example, last year. I believe she was the only artist who did not get paid on the sale of that artwork, and where 100% of the proceeds went to Amphar. And just shows you what kind of person and human being Kennedy is. And our idea from the very beginning was to donate a work to a charitable cause via an auction house in 2022. So when Noah approached me about his noble idea, I thought it's brilliant, because now we can use the platform of Sotheby's and hopefully raise as much money as possible for the charity called Free a Girl, which Kennedy chose.
But it's also a shortcut to forget the galleries.
I don't think so, because from what I understand from Sotheby's and Noah's model, the gallery and the artist get paid. What happens is that Sotheby's will probably not levy the same consignment fee. And that's a huge benefit, I think, for the artist or the gallery involved.
But it could mean that the artist would not need anymore the gallery.
I don't think so, because galleries are a fundamental part of the, art market that we have. The ecosystem, and I think galleries are extremely important. I don't think that that's the case. On the contrary, I think it opens up a new collector base even for the gallery. So what I understand, when you give this work to Sotheby's for the auction, it is on behalf of the artist and the gallery.
Yeah, not sure. For example, with Kennedy Yanko, is there a gallery?
Well, it's a bit different here, because there is no official representation. But I mean, if you have an artist who has an official representation with a gallery, I would assume that it would go via the gallery and the artist.
But if it's a very successful artist, he has no reason to present his work at auction. Let's say if we take Michael Armitage.
I think for us, the main point of that auction is to be able to donate to a charity. And that's what Kennedy had wanted to do all year long. And when his opportunity came along, we said yes to it, and we went forward with it.
But why not to give directly to the charity?
An artwork?
No, to give the benefits of a sale.
Well, we would have to sell it. So it doesn't change much. We're not paying Sotheby's for this, but okay. Sotheby's would allow us maybe and hopefully to achieve a very healthy price, which in turn will benefit the charity.
And what do you think of the kind of new initiative of Zverner, of platform of contemporary art, which is another kind of intermediary in the very contemporary art market?
I think that these platforms will allow smaller galleries to access hopefully a bigger collector base globally, which obviously Zverner has, and in turn will probably allow Zverner to understand what is going on in the very emerging artist scene. So I think it's a win-win situation potentially.
So what is the future of the art market? Do you think, is your feeling that it will change completely in terms of intermediation?
I think it has changed a lot already, because you have social media. So I know a few artists who have access to collectors directly because of, let's say, Instagram. It was something that they didn't have access to before. I think will benefit especially artists that are not located in the key art centers. Let's say, for example, artists on the African continent. And if you look, for example, at Amoako Boafo, well, Kehinde Wiley discovered him on Instagram. And I think that that's a beautiful way for an artist to showcase his work and hopefully build a career, make a career out of it.
You have advised Amoako in the last years?
Yeah, I have. And I think that he is a very wise user of social media. And I know many other artists who actually don't even have a gallery, and they just sell on Instagram, and they make a good living out of it.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's commendable. It's not something that I would advocate because I think that I work strictly within the ecosystem that I like and I support myself. But I think that there are artists out there who make a living out of selling on Instagram directly. So the art world is changing. I think the biggest change which we'll see in the next few years will be probably seeing a proliferation of artist managers like myself, because it's the one item which had been, in my opinion, missing in this rapidly expanding art world. And the art world grew to, exponential levels. If you look at it, it's a $65 to $70 billion industry a year. That's huge.
Where does this figure come from?
From the Claire McAndrew, research piece that she does on a yearly basis. But if we look at these numbers, this is substantial. This is like, I don't know any industry that is not properly structured like the art market is. Or is not, because the art market needs, I think, all of these other participants like artist managers, needs social media, the galleries, the collectors, the curators. Okay. So I think that the two things which had been missing were social media and artist managers. And that's what's going to happen, I think, in the next few years.
Merci beaucoup, Amir. Thank you.